All right. So the just in my talk, 9 core principles, but this is really oriented towards building a extremely profitable business. And the reason why Andy had me do this is because I've done it and I can teach it. And this is really the subject matter that I'm covering here can really be, gosh, each of the 9 is its own hour-long seminar. Honestly, I mean, but I'm going to just try to, squeeze it into 40 minutes, which I'm already blowing it right now. So what is it? It's 8:55. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyway, 9 core principles that will change your future. Jim Collins, who wrote the book Good to Great, he says here the good is the enemy of great. The good to great companies did not focus principally on what to do to become great. They focused equally on what not to do and what to stop doing. If you have cancer in your arm, you've got to have the guts to cut off your arm, right? So let's talk about this. This really kind of sets up the talk because this talk will focus you on what you need to do, the 9 core things you need to do to build a mega profitable, a mega long-term business. Okay. So think of this principles as you've already made the decision to stay in and you're going to make this business work come hell or high water. And in my opinion, anyone who comes in with that attitude and acts upon that attitude will be successful, bar none. There is nothing that can stop you from being successful if you come in with the attitude of longevity and endurance, right? Even if you're struggling, and you'll struggle all the way along the way. I mean, that's given, right? Alexis and I were talking earlier, and he was frustrated because he feels like he should be further along. I said, dude, I feel the same way. I've never felt different. I always feel like I should be further along. And I've been in this thing 25 years. Okay. Now, I'm not doing so bad, right? But anyway, so let's talk about this concept of the good to great mentality. 80% of what you're doing will keep you treading water, staying the same level year after year. 80% of what you're doing right now, right, is only going to keep you where you're at. It will keep you mired in the complex and distracting, right? It will keep you in this comfort zone of mediocrity. Growth only happens outside your comfort zone, but you get put into this treadmill of comfort that you just can't break out of. And you're wondering, like, why can't I break out of it? Well, because you're 80% of what you're doing is keeping you in it. Let's look at the other side of the coin. Let's look at the 20%. What is the 20% that if you went all in on, you'd become 10 times more valuable and impactful? Because I promise you, there are 20% of the things you're doing that if you keep doing, but not only keep doing it, but go all in on it, like totally investing yourself in it emotionally from a money standpoint, because you only have 3 things to invest: time, money, and emotion. And if you focus your time, money, emotion on these 20% things, this is how you 10x your business, right? What are the few things you do and the few people you work with that produce most of your success and excitement? So right now, what you're doing is you're separating out the 80% that you should stop doing and the 20% that you should totally invest yourself in and do more of. So now it's looking at what is 80% that's keeping you grinding away and ultimately a distraction for your biggest future jumps. Okay. So the next 9 principles I'm going to cover is going to illuminate the 20% that you should be doing. Some of you are not doing it yet. Some of you are thinking about doing it. Some of you are doing it, but not really invested in it, right? At some level. Okay. These 9 things, if you totally invest yourself in it with time, money, and emotion, you will create success, but not only mega success, mega wealth, but long term. I'm talking long term. We're not talking short term, make a bunch of money and then you're back where you were financially. We're talking long term income. And that should be something that you should be fired up about. Principle number one, with creates immediate profit. So we're talking here from a builder's perspective, learning how to build an agency, a long-term agency, right? That's what creates long-term wealth, is creating an agency. And I'm going to go into all those reasons, but getting wide, meaning you are bringing people direct to you, you're recruiting and bringing them direct to you, creating what we call with. With creates immediate profit. Here's a problem, not the problem, but here's the issue with is that it takes a lot of work. Ann Landers, a columnist from many, many, many years ago, decades ago, super wise. She wrote a column that people would, you know, Dear Ann, and they would write, asking her all kinds of questions, right? She says opportunities are usually disguised as hard work. So most people don't recognize them, right? So let's talk about this idea of with. With creates immediate profit. Meeting a lot of people creates options and cash flow. So you got to put yourself out there in all the different ways. I mean, we call 3-foot rule. We could talk all these things, but you got to put yourself out there because nothing happens without you being exposed to clients, to recruits, to people. You can't build this business in this little vacuum in the basement of your house, never getting out there. This business requires you to invest yourself in people, right? I get people that ask me, Alex, what would you have done different when you got in? Now that you know what you know now, what would you have done different when you got started? You know what I tell them? Nothing. I wouldn't have done anything different. Now you ask, 90% of the top producers out there, you ask them what they should have done. All of them, I promise you, all of them will say, I should have started recruiting sooner, right? Because they're at the point in their business where they're making a lot of money, but they just can't get out of booking 20, 30, 40 appointments a week to make the kind of money they're making. And if something happened to them, there's that income's not coming in because it's all based on them, right? And so all of them say, I should start recruiting sooner. Well, I didn't have that problem because I recruited from Jump Street Gang because I realized in this business, I knew that I did not want to have to be a salesperson for the rest of my life. I didn't want my income all based on me, right? So what I did is I started recruiting right away. I got wide really fast. I got so wide and started developing legs underneath me that within 3 months, well, actually by the end of month two, we did 100,000 of production. And it was through, I don't know, 9, 10 legs, and three of them had new people who knew people who knew people. And it spread to California, different parts of the country, Indianapolis. And before I know it, in 2 months, we did 100,000. And we didn't know that that was fast. We thought that's what you should be doing. And that foundation that I built back then is the key to how I've created over 8 figures of override income in the last 25 years. We're talking eight, multiple 8 figures. It's pretty insane, right? But it was me exposing myself to the opportunity and to getting out there, meeting people, doing ads, bringing people in. I just got wide, wide, wide because I became super profitable. Here's the other key. Activity volume solves most early problems. In other words, I was telling Alexis this, you have got to fail fast, right? You cannot, yes, our conversation, really, it's funny how we started this conversation, which is part of my presentation. I told him, he said, I need to put a schedule together. I need to, you know, um, get better at this. And, tell me what you did when you got in. And I said, dude, when I got in, let me tell you my mentality. My mentality was I got to flush my job. I have 3 kids and a wife and mortgage. I just want to flush my stupid job. Now I was making 150,000 a year. This was 25 years ago as an executive recruiter. But I had to replace that. But so I did not do what most agents do. What most agents do is they think, okay, I'm going to put, 5 hours a week in this and let's see what happens. Or I'm going to put 10 hours a week and let's see what happens. It's the dipping the toe in the water mode. It's like, no, man, baptize me in full immersion. I immersed myself. And Ginny agreed that I was going to go after this because I wanted to get the heck out of my job and I want to start building a massive organization. So she said, do whatever you got to do. So every waking moment, I was not at work. I was doing the business. So at lunchtime, I'd go to my car and I'd be booking appointments for after work. Then after work, I'd be going on appointments, right? And then on the weekends, I'd be learning product, or we'd actually run appointments on Saturday and Sunday. So I was just going nuts. I came in with the attitude of what is the most I can do? And let's see what happens, right? Because if I did the most I can do and then I improved on that, then I knew it wasn't the fact that I wasn't working hard enough because I wanted to take that factor out that am I really working this hard enough? I committed to, I'm going to work my ass off and I'm going to commit to working hard enough. So I know that because I'm not successful is because of my skill. It wasn't because I was lazy. I, does that make sense? And you know what's really interesting is in my 25 years, I really have not found a lot of people that come in with that attitude. It's just really interesting to me. Most people come in with the dip the toe in the water thing. It's like, golly, I can't find anyone that is willing to forsake temporarily stuff. Everyone's trying to do this thing called balance. Well, I need to just balance my life with
Mm.
this. I tell you what, Jenny said, whatever you got to freaking do, do it. So she gave me carte blanche. She was taking care of three young kids at home. I said, but do what you got to do. She believed in me. I didn't have to ask, like there's some people that come in and it's like, honey, okay, I've got to go to this event. Is that okay with you? It's like, dude, are you really counseling your business with your partner, with your spouse? Because let me break it to you. You both have the same bank account. And if you looked at it, you both are broke. There's like hardly any money in it. You both are sharing the same bank account. So why would you counsel with your spouse on what you need to be doing on your business? It's the most illogical, insane thing that I've ever heard in my life. Why don't you counsel with someone who's got a bigger bank account, who knows what they're doing? Why don't you do that? Right? Yeah, this is going to be an interesting talk this weekend, this Friday. Oh man, obviously I'm been working on it, but
This is good, Mr. Alex.
what was that?
This is good.
Okay, well, I hope so. It may
This is
want
very
you to,
good.
it may push you. I don't know. It may push you beyond where you want to go. But that's my job, gang, is to push you beyond your comfort zone because comfort zone will keep you mediocre. Like don't embrace the comfort zone, man. I, I did whatever I had to do. What's the most I can do? And let's evaluate. I ran as many appointments as I could. I recruited my warm market right away. I sold fast and I sold hard. Right. See, here's the underlying thing with principle number two is profit comes from reach. And what I mean by reach is how much influence you have in the people that you're working with, right? And how much reach can I create by creating massive activity volume, unfettered by the wimpy idea that I got to balance my life. Golly, it's such a Brooke mentality. And you don't have to do it forever. You just have to do it at the beginning so you can lay the foundation of work ethic and then you can start normalizing your life. But to do it at the beginning is just negotiating to be mediocre. I didn't think I was going to get this fired up, but I think Friday night's going to be a different night for people. Okay, let's move on. Principle number two. So, principle one, width helps you create reach. Number two, depth creates long term security. Okay, so let's talk about what depth is. The concept of building deep is one of security with a backup plan. You might think it's unusual to build a backup plan in the very beginning, but it's like carrying a spare tire. This is Andy Albright out of Millionaire Maker Manual. Like, why do you carry a spare tire? How about this? Why do you have life insurance? It's a backup plan, right? If you can no longer produce for your family, you have life insurance so it can replace what you would have been able to do for your family, right? I mean, every smart human being that loves a family, loves his or her family, gets life insurance. We all know that because we're in the life insurance business, right? Depth is the same thing. Depth is not relying on the person you hired that they're going to be your leader. You have to automatically think, what if this person quits? What do I have? Now, if you can help that person find people for them, if that person quits, you've got three, four other choices of who to work with instead of one person. It's such a simple concept. It's creating the security with a backup plan, right? It's a backup plan to your security. The power of the depth building concept is just like pumping for oil. And you got to get to that pocket of oil and you got to keep digging, digging, digging until you find and you hit the oil pocket. So you get pumping barrels and barrels and barrels of oil, right? So creating duplication allows you to dig deep to find these people. It allows you to go through more spheres of influence. Okay, so let me explain it like this, right? Every layer in depth, meaning every person you bring on, they probably know 200 people. Okay. How do I know that? The average people that show up at someone's funeral is 200. Okay. So that's why we come up with this number 200. Now, if you just hire one person, you have maybe access to 200 people potentially that we could show the plan to and bring in. Okay. Now, if that's all you rely on and no one gets in, well, then you're stuck. Okay. But if we can find one or two or three people within that 200 people, then we get down the next level. And that next level, those three people, let's say only two of them, that's two times 200, that's 400 spheres of influence. We got into 400 people that have access to. And we go another level deep. We may find two or three, four other people. That's another, 800 potential spheres of influence to go down deep. And so every time you get another layer deep, it's another sphere of influence that you can drive to find the leader that you need to find. See, what happens when you go down deep and finding leader after leader after leader, recruit after recruit, especially in a warm market, is they all trust each other. They get in, they know each other. Instead of cold recruiting. Cold recruiting, you got to build trust with someone. It takes time, right? They don't, they just don't know if they should follow you. But if it's a friend of yours, your friend's going to go wherever you're going, man. If they're a tight friend and they want to go where you're going. And that's why we built the alliance years ago, is through people, friends who knew friends who knew friends. That's why I did 100,000 in 2 months. But a lot of you just like dismissing your warm market and you're just trying to do the cold market thing. It's like, yeah, you're going to have to do it, but you are totally missing the boat. Do you know how many thousands of people you have access to through your warm market of people? And you're going to find your leaders. And the problem and the power of that is you're going to find people who will duplicate you. And that's what you're looking for. Leaders that will duplicate you. Because when you create duplication, you create predictability in your income. And that oil well will continue to produce barrels and barrels of oil, meaning income for you, because you drove it down deep enough you hit the leader, and the leader will find another leader. It produces predictability, right? Time spent in depth stabilizes your income. So not only are you finding the people, you're creating relationships with them, you're spending time with them. So this is the time investment that will multiply hugely for you long term. We're talking how to get profitable. So here's what Andy did. He spent time with me and Ginny. And then he spent time with Mike and Noel, that I spent time with Mike and Noel. So the two of us spent time with Mike and Noel. And Mike and Noel, we found Joseph Dukes through another guy, right? And Andy, myself, and Leventovich spent time with Dukes, right? And created loyalty. These are bonds that don't break. And then through Jerry Gonzalez, who's a good friend. He and I roomed at different events, and I've spent time with Jerry and Mike and Joseph. We found who do we find? Junior board member Jake and Vray Joseph, who bought this massive house. When you come to national convention, they're going to show you this house. This thing is off the chain. And it helps when your mother, Amanda Maldonado is a realtor because she knows where all the nice houses are, right? Do you see what's happening here? These relationships and bonds that are forming are are getting super tight. And then we find Pablo and Sarah Seifert, who's underneath Jake and Vare, who's building a really strong team. And then we got Sherry Teal. And this taproot of relationships, of people and spending time in the taproot has produced for Andy 1.2 million a month of issue paid volume, right? And let's say he makes 50% override. So he's making 600,000 a month, or I should say integrity marketing, 600,000 a month on this organization because Andy spent time building it and I spent time building it. See, we all duplicated what Andy was doing and the tentacles continue further. There's another gal that's coming on. She might even hit agency manager this month. We'll see. I don't name her, but I want her to see this so that it gets her motivated and it keeps going. Gang, do you think I have to work in this leg anymore? This leg will continue. Now, I'm nice to everybody, I build relationships, continue to build relationships, but I don't have to anymore. This leg just keeps producing for me. I've found the well. Now I'm trying to find it in other legs, but do you think I got to worry about this? This is a key principle of depth. Oh, geez, I forgot about this slide. Okay, so this is the idea of you bring agents directly to you to events. So this is the idea of building the people through events, bringing them to events. Now, if you only bring a width of people to you with you at events, you might get one person that gets super jacked up from that event. And let's say that person doubles his volume from 1,000 a month to 2,000 a month. Woohoo, fired up, right? Not a big impact to your business, right? Because it's just your first layer. And that's just how it is when you don't have a lot of depth in your organization. It doesn't really create any momentum. That guy's fired up. Maybe the next month he'll do 4,000. We'll see. These other people they got fired up. They, came back by Wednesday. They fell back into their natural habits. What if you brought this kind of organization to an event? You're four deep and like six legs, right? And then you promote the event to the person at the bottom, and then you start moving up and promoting the event, saying, "Hey Joe, your buddy Steve's coming. Aren't you fired up about that?" And they go, "Yeah, I'm fired about that." They weren't before, but now they find their downlines going. And then you go up to the next person up top, and then you tell them about, "Hey, you got two groups coming. You fired up?" See, what happens is they come back from the event in depth. They start creating volume and depth. They create width and depth. And that volume bubbles up from the very bottom where it just explodes. This is how you leverage. It's called leverage events to build your bottom volume from the bottom up. This is huge, gang. So what if you go home from this event and you hire one person and then you hire three more from their warm market list, right? Then they each hire three more from their own market list because they're learning to duplicate. Then each of the 15 do 5,000, only 5,000 you should pay in a month because they got in our system. They'll probably do 5,000 in a week if they get on our system, but they get on our system with super, super cheap leads, automated booking. It's easy to believe that they're going to do 5,000 a month because they don't got to call leads anymore, right? You're doing 75,000 issue paid. Check this out. Then they each hire three more from their own warm market list. Now you're at 300,000 issue paid. Do you see how duplication and especially building depth to duplicate will create huge momentum and volume? It's a huge thing. Gosh, I'm already behind. I'm going to have to really edit myself when I do this. Now, here's principle number 3. Principle 1, building width. Principle 2, focus on building depth. And it's not just as simple as saying, just build depth. get someone for someone for someone. Yeah, there are rules like that. Building depth is a lot more than just, I'm just going to find someone for someone. It's intentional. It's intentional in trying to see who you can duplicate yourself through in depth, right? This is this is chess, not checkers. So principle three is you got to do both on purpose, right? Roy Disney, the brother of Walt Disney, who was a key player in building the Disney organization, when your values are clear to you, making decisions become much easier. So these are what we were talking about, these 9 principles. And we're trying to get these principles deep into your value system so that when you operate by satisfying what you value, that you're going to be immediately successful, meaning not only immediately successful, but successful long term. And that's what we're talking about. How you can keep your business going so you never have to worry about it. It will keep producing, 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 and you're on a beach somewhere with your family. You know what I'm saying? You got to do both. You got to walk and chew gum at the same time. You got to do it all. This is a one-man band. You see, I'm a guitar player. So you see what he's doing to the neck? That's how he keeps the beat. He's got a whole drum set on his back. This is just amazing, dude. He sounds really good. Anyway, here's the thing. You have to do both. You cannot do one without the other. Without depth, you'll burn out, right? Because you're just going to keep the revolving door business going. People, you got to bring more people in than quit just to keep your volume going. It is tough. It is difficult. You'll be frustrated all the time. Now, depth without width, it stalls growth because you're talking your personal growth. So you got to do both. I mean, that's really the bottom line. Here's the thing. So let's get to some rules here. As you're building your span in width, you got to operate the depth with this thing in mind. You don't have a recruit in width until you have someone for them, right? Let me say it again. You don't have a recruit until you have a recruit for them. You don't have a leg until it's 4 deep. Because when you get to 4 deep, statistically, you're going to find someone who's really going to listen to you. You're going to find a bunch of pretenders, people that will lead you to the person that's going to listen to you. You got to go at least 4 deep. And you don't have a business until you get 12 deep. You don't have a business until it's 12 deep. Because then 12 deep, you're going to find a leader backed by a leader backed by a leader, right? So let's take a look at this. This is you. You're like 1, 2, 3, 4. You're 5 wide, and your business is only going to be so big. But let's see if you focus to get super wide and driving depth. Look how much bigger your organization can be. It's a really great visual when you can compare where you were to where you could be, right? So what's the definition of a leader? Number one, a leader listens to their upline, right? And to the other mentors in the organization. They listen, meaning not only do they listen, but they put those things they're learning to work, and they learn to work without being told to work, right? The next example of a leader is they're edifiable. They become edifiable. They become someone Andy Albright edifies, someone Andy recognizes, someone that Andy will get to talk in front of people. After they get edified, they still remain humble to their growing upline. They will still listen. They're not too big for their britches, right? They don't get the big head. They still listen to you. And then they learn to handle negative without you, right? It's okay for them to keep checking up on how to handle different negative things with people, with the business, right? But when they start learning it on their own or doing it on their own, then you've got duplication going. You got someone who's going to stick in, even though they go through the negative, and then the other mark the leaders, they produce other leaders, right? So this is a huge idea. Okay. I remember when Leventoviches took over Kentucky, they agreed with Andy that they were going to take every lead he could produce because they were going to recruit. Well, what happened was the first week they made that commitment, they had like $10,000 worth of leads coming in. They definitely didn't have enough agents, right? And if they didn't pay that lead bill, they would have rolled up to me and then I would have had to pay it, right? But Mike and Noel, they have the integrity to not put that burden on me or Andy. So what they did is they put on credit cards until they could find enough agents to run these leads. And they kept putting stuff on credit cards because that was their method of investment. And I think they got up to about 60,000 credit card debt in building their business. But their business exploded like maybe 18 months later, where they paid that car off in 2 months, where they just paid that debt off like it was nothing. Because they started building momentum where they just, kept paying the monthly fee to keep going, the minimum payment. But then it just exploded to the point where they just paid that sucker off. Now, I'm not recommending that you do it, but here's the thing, right? They acted like a leader. They did everything that I'm telling you here, right? They lost a large group at one point, a very large group. They went off to some other IMO and they talked to me. We talked through it. Hey, it's going to be all right, man. Get excited when you can lose large groups and then you can, you still got a large business anyway. So that large group didn't mean nothing to your income. They got fired up about that. Now they got a business that is that, right? Okay, principle number 4. Activity is a great equalizer. One of my favorite players, Kobe Bryant. Like MJ is my favorite, but Kobe Bryant is probably more public because of social media with his work ethic, right? He says here, a lot of people say they want to be great, but they're not willing to make the sacrifices necessary to achieve greatness. They have other concerns, whether important or not, and they spread themselves out. That's totally fine. After all, greatness is not for everybody. I hope that rings. I hope that rings with you. Look, we don't judge your character. We only judge what you do. And what you do speaks so loudly that what you say, we can't hear. So it's what you do that speaks to me, right? I love this quote.
Beautiful part about any craft is starting at the beginning. That is the most purest form of artistry because you have to learn the building blocks, every little step, all the fundamentals. I mean, that's the most beautiful part to me. You start with, what do you want your game to be? What would make your game most unstoppable or hard to deal with? And now you work backwards from there. And you start building it one piece at a time, one move at a time, one counter at a time. So at the age of 18, this was my life, right? So you can't possibly become better than me because you're not spending the time on it that I do. That's the only way you get better is by pushing yourself past exhaustion. Imagine you wake up at 3, you train at 4 to 6, come home, breakfast, relax, now you're back at it again, 9 to 11, right? Relax, and now it's done, you're back at it again, 2 to 4, and now you're back at it again, 7 to 9. Look how much more training I have done by simply starting at 4, right? And so now you do that, and as the years go on, the separation that you have with your competitors and your peers, it just grows larger and larger and larger and larger and larger. And by year 5 or 6, Doesn't matter what kind of work they do in the summer, they're never going to catch up. There's a choice that we have to make as people, as individuals. If you want to be great at something, it's a choice that you have to make. We all can be masters at our craft. But you have to make a choice. I love what I do. And it's as simple as that. I get so much enjoyment from it.
Man, I love that. I know what that's like. I know what it's like working out. When I play basketball and play tennis, you're by yourself, and I'm hitting 100 tennis balls, 100 serves. I'm, pounding that basketball just by myself. No one's watching, no one's rebounding for me. I'm hitting against a tennis wall, right? Until I could find someone to pick up tennis with me. I mean, there's this kind of focus where everything else just fades away that you just have to do. You have to do. Skills improves faster with repetition. It's the reps. You got to get the reps in. You cannot avoid getting the reps in. You're not going to be good at the beginning. Let's say you're going to be good at running appointments after you've run 100 appointments. Okay, so how soon do you want to get there? You want to run 2 appointments a day? What, or do you want to run 20 appointments a week and then you get to 100 in 5 weeks instead of 5 months? See, there's this thing called compounding, learning compounding. The faster you can get your reps in, the faster you're going to learn it, but you're going to learn it even faster. In other words, the more compressed, it goes exponentially higher, your learning curve. That's why you don't want to stretch it out, because you're not going to learn much compared to just cramming it in. There's this thing called learning compounding. You want to fail as fast as you can. So you can book 20 appointments a month and you're going to get a certain amount of learning. But dude, if you did 20 appointments a week, can you imagine what you learned in doing 20 appointments a week? You could show the plan to 20 people in a month. Well, what if you show the plan to 20 people in a week while you're recruiting? Do you think your level of production, your level of success will go up more than 4 times? You go from 4 weeks of doing that to 1 week, the results are going to be even better than 4 times. Does that make sense? What if you start getting really good at recruiting after the 100th interview? How fast do you want to get to that 100th interview? Everyone has that competency level. It's going to take X number for you. It's going to take X number for another person. It's going to take Y number for someone else. Everyone has that competency level where you're going to get your ratios where you're cranking, and you still can improve from there. But the sooner you can get there, the more success you're going to have. Because one thing is, you cannot get time back. So why waste it? You cannot go rewind your life. All you have is what you have today, right now in the present. Consistent exposure produces breakthroughs. When you expose yourself to learning over and over and over and over again, breakthroughs will happen for you. But if you just do I'm going to work hard this week and then I'm going to take a break next week, I promise you that roller coaster level of work ethic and exposing yourself to learning, it's not going to work as well. You have to expose yourself to every situation you can so you learn how to handle it in the future. Every opportunity is an opportunity to learn something new, right? You earn your wisdom through experience, both the good experiences and the bad one, but especially the bad ones. And if you can squeeze that in sooner than later, your experience level go up, your results will happen. The biggest breakthroughs are how to handle the emotions of selling and recruiting and building. That's the toughest thing for anybody because you start making decisions on emotion, you've lost already because you're going to let your emotions rule you. Terrible. Do you think how many times did Kobe Bryant not feel like getting up at 4 in the morning, right? Or get up at 3 in the morning so he could work out 4 in the morning to 6 in the morning. He didn't feel like doing it, but he did anyway, right? The emotions. You're going to lose people. You're building a business, lose people that you emotionally invested in. They're going to leave you. And you thought they're with you for life. They're going to leave you. Are you going to be able to handle that emotion? It's happened to me many, many, many times. You're going to get chargebacks and rollouts from downline, right? You're going to get it. If you're hitting this thing hard, you're going to get that, but you're going to be making profit overall, right? Not hitting your goals. Can you handle the emotion of that? Health setbacks. Will health setbacks prevent you from building a business? It's nature of the health setback, but you have a backup plan in place. You have backup people that will have money that will produce income for you because they're out there producing for themselves. Man, gosh, I don't have enough time to go through that story. Anyway, let's move on. Principle number 5, duplication beats talent. Most businesses fail. Reasons for these failures include lack of duplication, lack of a proven method, lack of a mentor, lack of a recipe, lack of a plan, lack of capital, lack of a market, lack of a goal, lack of an overall system. Andy Albright out of the Millionaire Maker Manual. Sorry about this.
The process is just a definition of what you have to do to accomplish a goal. But then you have to have the discipline to execute it every day. Right? So first of all, you get everybody to buy in, to climb the mountain, right, and do all the things that they have to do to be the best that they can be. That's special. And then to be able to continue that. People don't understand, success is not a continuum. Just because you were successful doesn't mean you're going to continue to be successful. You got to understand that you always need to try to improve and get better, and you need to continue to do the things that helped you be successful to start with.
I know this never gets old for you, but why?
Why do you do what you do? Are you driven to be the best at what you do?
Yes, sir.
There's an old Martin Luther King sermon that, talks about there's only one guy that I'd let shine my shoes in Montgomery, Alabama, because of the pride he had in the performance of how he shined my shoes. I didn't want anybody else in the world to shine my shoes. And the enjoyment he got, that he did a great job for what you did. And you've probably heard this sermon, and I'm just paraphrasing here, but if you're going to be a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper you can be. Sweep the streets like Michelangelo painted a Sistine Chapel, like Shakespeare wrote literature. Let him put a sign up right here that says the best street sweeper in the world lives right here. And if you can do that, you do the best you do the best there is in life. Knowing you did your best to be the best you could be no matter what you choose to do. That's why. Because there's no better feeling than knowing you did the best you could be. I don't care if it's what you do, what I do, what the street sweeper does. It really doesn't matter. It's not all about results.
So I love this. I love that because he talks about process. Nick Saban always said, by the way, I'm not a big fan of Alabama. Scott Mills knows that. But I am a fan of success. And Nick Saban said, if I can get all my players to fall in love with the process of being successful, with the process of practice, with working hard, if they can fall in love with that, then we'll always be competitive. The goal wasn't to win a national championship. The goal was to get there players to bind to the process. If you can get them to bind to the process, then success is just around the corner. Success is hard, just putting in the work, right? Whether they win the national championship or not, maybe, maybe not. You think that's ultimate goal. No, man, the ultimate goal is the process, it's the journey, right? Simple systems travel farther. In other words, you got to keep it simple, right? Average people duplicating with win long term, right? In other words, if you get average people duplicating a simple system, oh my gosh, man, you are going to blow this thing up, right? You don't got to be this big motivator of people. You just got to find people that are willing to duplicate a very simple system, right? So let's talk about our system. We have a system of trusted partners, the insurance carriers that we work with. They have billions of dollars. We have a training and we have the ARC. We got a tremendous back office. We have lead programs that we're able to attract clients. So the alliance infrastructure is the glue to your business. You do not have to create the infrastructure. It already exists. It's very simple. You just operate it. You lean on it. And we're not charging you for the system. Do you know how much capital it took to invest in creating a system for you to leverage to build your business? You don't have to do any of it. It's already been done for you. Your opportunity is to take advantage of it, right? And then we created this amazing system of building, but it's more a system of mentality, of creating the proper mentality to build a long-term business, right? Keeping it simple. What's the one thing we do? We sell, we recruit, and build. Alex, what's the difference between recruiting and building? Recruiting is going out there finding people that want to join you. Building is finding people that want to find people to join them. Okay? Getting duplication. We sell, recruit, build. That's the one thing we do. And it's the foundational principles of work ethic. And the work are the 8 steps to success, right? And these are the principles behind that is we learn to duplicate, we learn to associate, we learn to edify. These are 3 important skills in building a long-term business, right? And we stand under the foundation of prosperity, inspiration, and eternity. That's what the Alliance is about. This is the system. Creating a simple system will help you build a long-term business. The key to asking yourself about duplication is it learnable? Is it teachable? Is it duplicatable? Look, if the average person can't do it, then you've limited your growth. You've limited yourself. That's why it's like, don't try to create all kinds of special little idioms and little sayings and, just use a system because it's already there for you. You don't have to be fancy. You don't want to be fancy. You want everyone to be able to operate it without you. Okay, without you. Because if they have to depend on you to motivate them, they depend on you to teach them. They depend on you. You've got a bad job. You got in the business to not have a job. Golly, man, you hire people to do those things, so you don't have to do it. It's called arbitrage of your time. You got to treat your time like you're making $1,000 an hour. So you hire someone that makes $20 an hour. Guess what? You just made $80 profit. Do you understand how that works? Here's the other rule. People will only duplicate half the good things you do, and they'll duplicate twice the bad things you do. So how many bad things do you want to do? Right? Because they're going to do it twice as bad. Okay. Look, if you can't duplicate it, you can't scale. Principle number 6, leadership is developed, not discovered. John Maxwell, the single biggest way to impact an organization is to focus on leadership development. There is almost no limit to the potential of an organization that recruits good people, but then raises them up as leaders and continually develops them. This is a huge idea, gang. This is what Andy Albright did, man. Oh, man. I thought I had Let me go back. Wow. Look at the people on here. He developed us. We were motivated, so he took our motivation and formed us. We were like clay, right? And he formed us and we allowed it. And look what happened. We grew large businesses, right? We were developed, but we wanted to be developed. We wanted to have, we allowed, it's probably the best way to say it is we humbled ourselves. We submitted ourselves to someone who wanted to help create duplication in us. Leaders are shaped through responsibility, right? In other words, you're responsible. I'm responsible. I'm responsible for you. And that's what creates a leader. A leader is someone who serves others, that then he's responsible, she's responsible for that person they're serving to be better. And that's when you really become a leader, when you're giving yourself away to somebody. Coaching and expectation creates growth. You can't just let people willy-nilly go off. You have to coach them and you have to expect the best out of them for them to rise up to your expectations. And then you got to be smart enough to ask them deep questions that will bring the best out of them. It's called coaching from the inside out, right? We help them to discover the things inside them that they need to change. It's one thing to coach someone and or tell them this is what you got to do, this is what you got to do, this is what you got to do. Or you can pose things to them or ask them questions that they come to the realization, this is what I ought to do. Now, what I'm doing here is different, okay? Because I'm doing one to many. And so there's a lot more things I could do that I wouldn't really normally do one-on-one, right? I wouldn't be ranting one-on-one, but I'll be helping you pull this stuff out of yourself, okay? Principle number 7, short-term profit funds long-term growth. So Larry Page, who is one of the founders of Google, our goal is long-term growth in revenue and absolute profit. So we invest aggressively in future innovation while tightly managing our short-term costs. This is all, MBA smart stuff that these smart guys have figured out, right? So what does that really mean for you and me in this business? It's the same thing. Okay. So let's create an analogy here for you, right? Let's talk about how to leverage the power of compounding and reinvesting your profits. So you're a business, you want to grow your business, right? Or grow your income. So you're growing your wealth, So for number one, you choose stocks that have a consistent and high earnings growth rate. So you try to search for those, study those, get advice from other people, and those are the ones that you want to go in on. And then as you're earning dividends on the stocks that you purchase and you have capital gains, what do you do with that? You reinvest. You either get more, right? More of the stock that you purchased so it continues to pile on each other, or you can do number 3, diversify your portfolio. So you're not totally dependent on this one industry or this one stock or this one group of stocks. You diversify in other areas so that you've got your money working for you in different places, right? But the key to being an investor is patience and discipline. Patience and discipline. So if you're looking for long-term wealth, you have to do these 4 things in order to be successful in investing. Okay, so let's take a look at this from another perspective, right? From this business perspective. So number 1, instead of picking a stock, what you're doing is you're writing business, right, to sustain your house and earn the capital to leverage your business expansion. So guess what? The stock is you. You're picking yourself as the stock. And the beautiful thing about picking yourself as a stock is that you're the best investment you could ever make because you're totally in control of how that investment performs, right? So I'd rather do a sure thing. I'd rather bet on me, right? And so as I produce and as I learn to produce better and more, I start creating dividends, right? Both emotional leadership dividends, but also capital dividends, money that can reinvest and my profits I can reinvest into my business, right? In producing more with, right? I start getting more profit in overrides because as I bring people on, they produce, I make that override income on them. I bring someone else on, they produce, I make more override on them. And as I grow wide, I get super profitable. And then what I do is I diversify my business. How do I do that? By building depth in each leg, right? I diversify my opportunities through other spheres of influence where I can find the real leader who's going to emerge. Okay. I diversify my business and then I'm patient and disciplined. It could take 1 year, it could take 15 years, but it's going to take whatever it takes, right? It's going to be dependent on me working and myself growing because your business will never out earn your self-image. It will never out earn your ability to be a leader. Your leadership will always be the lid on your business. Right? That's why it's most important to invest in yourself and then invest in other people. Okay. So, bottom line, early wins create confidence and momentum. And then you'll notice in your worksheets, everything's highlighted in yellow. I'm just trying to make it easy for you. Early wins, meaning like you got to work your butt off to get to win early in this thing, man, because you start creating momentum when you win early. Then finally, reinvesting sustains expansion. See, smart profit management fuels stability in your business. And this is how this works. Principle 8. Stability comes from relationships, not hype. When has hype ever gotten anybody anything? Hype maybe got people fired up temporarily, but never for the long haul. It's relationships that will fuel your business for the long haul. Stephen Covey says building and repairing relationships are the long-term investments. Ain't that the truth? Because ultimately, it's why we exist. We exist to be in communion with people, to be in community. You cannot grow outside of community. You can't grow in your basement. You have to get around other people. Not only are you getting influenced by positive influence by people that you want to be mentored by, but you yourself influence other people as well, right? And it comes through creating real relationships with people, caring about people, giving yourself away. Trust outlasts trends. Man, I've never been a trend kind of person. I used to be when I was in my 20s. Then I realized, you know what? Principles last, right? And so I started to live my life by principles, not by fads. And trust outlasts trends. Trust with people. So number one, you have to be trustworthy, meaning you're good for your word. You do everything you can. You are willing to say sorry and take the hit, even though maybe you might even be wrong. But it creates trust, and people will depend on you, will look to you for mentorship and leadership when they know they can trust you. They know your heart. They know that your heart cares about them. And even though you screw up, which I do all the time, people will cut you slack because they know and they trust that you care about them, that you're going to do all kinds of crazy things, crazy investments, crazy programs, you know. And I hope you guys know that about me already. I'm just trying to make life better for you. That's my operating value system. Long-term relationships compound value. I mean, have you ever seen anybody that just created short-term relationships create anything of value? It zero happens. When you create long-term relationships, it's the compounding factor of people that stick with you for the long haul because you love them and they love you. It's huge, huge, huge. See, people stay when they know that they're supported and they're cared for. Last principle, longevity. I'm going to have to figure out how to cut this presentation down. Longevity is the ultimate profit multiplier. Johnny Hunt, who's a pastor, he says there's no such thing as great work without longevity. Oh, man. I mean, it's sort of like on its face, it makes sense. You've been in business 25 years. If you did anything worth of value, um, you should be able to pile up some success, right? And it's true. But the idea is it doesn't come because of the time I've been in it. It comes because I made the commitment to be in it. Do you see the difference? Like it didn't just happen because I decided to stick around long enough. I made decided that I'm going to do whatever it takes long enough for it to happen. I don't know if that you understand that, but anyway.
Lionel Messi didn't blow up overnight. He built in silence for years. He once said, "It took me 17 years and 114 days to become an overnight success." He wasn't the tallest, he wasn't the loudest, but he was always the first to show up and the last to leave. He trained when no one watched, practiced the same moves 1,000 times. He didn't beg for spotlight, he earned it. Because greatness doesn't ask for permission, it just shows up again and again.
I know my buddy Pablo. I had to put Messi in here somehow. Time smooths volatility. When you look back at a long period of time, all of a sudden the little bumps along the way don't seem as big. So if you look back on it that way, can't you look forward the same way? What a concept. Look forward as if you're looking back, right? Look back in the last 20 years of your life. You've had all kinds of crazy things happen to you. But when you look back on it, maybe it's not as bad as it was when you were in it. See, does that make sense? So isn't it reasonable to assume that when you look forward, that whatever you're going through right now is just going to be a little bump? You're going to look back on it and think the same thing you look back on that thing that you went through. See, time smooths volatility. And again, the idea that you're going to stick with this and stay in it makes everything much better because you're not always wondering, should I quit now or should I quit later? It's like, oh, I'm in this thing. I might not be moving as fast as I want to, but I'm moving. I'm come hell or high water, man. They're going to have to pry me out with a chainsaw. I am not going to be the cancer to be cut out of this thing. Time smooths volatility. Staying power separates professionals from amateurs. Man, is there anything that you've committed to in your life, right, that you just assume that it's the commitment's there? There's no even question about it. Can you name one thing, right, that it's not even a question? And for those of you that are parents, your children, it's kind of like when your kid's crying in the other room and they're like 3 years old or they're 6 months old, you're not going to turn to your wife and say, do you feel like going and take care of that? Yeah, let's just go back to bed. You don't think of making decisions like that. It's not a decision. You got to take care of your child, right? Not a second thought. If a bus was coming and it's going to hit your child, you're going to pull that child out. You'd sacrifice your own life without even thinking about it. Now, what if you treated your business like that? That you're so committed that there's no question that you're, like, do you question being a parent? No, you're a parent. You do what parents do. You love your children. You bleed for them. You'll do anything for them. It's just decided upon. There's no decision really. If you treat your business like your child, golly, man. Because I'm a parent for life. I am building this business for life. I am an influencer of people for life. I'm helping people make money in the insurance business for life. If you don't look at it like that, then try to figure out how to get there. Because if you don't ever get there, then there's probably nothing else in your life that you'll ever commit to that you will have that same commitment. So some things to take with you. Get wide to get paid, go deep to stay paid, baby. Get wide to get paid, go deep to stay paid. Profit is built fast, security is built right. Profit is built fast, security is built right. Well, I got to cut out some I got to cut out some time. Anyway. Well, look, man, I hope that made sense to you. Um, there's so much more. Like I have stories too that I just didn't have time to tell that emphasize a lot of these points, because I've been in this long enough to have stories. Like imagine you're in this long enough to have your own stories. That's what you're doing. You're accumulating your story. You're writing your story right now. And I hope these 9 core principles made sense to you. And I promise you, you come in with the right attitude and operate these principles, it's all over but the shouting. It will happen. It's like Indiana winning the national championship. It will happen. They will not be denied because they put the systems in place, the players in place, and the process, and they had commitment, 100% commitment that they were going to give everything they had in that game and every game. That's why they won 16-0. And no college football team has gone undefeated since what, the 1920s, Yale, the 20s. Anyway, look, man, there's so much more, but you need to come to national convention to get all of it. I'm just one small piece in the puzzle, but hopefully, if you're not going, come on, man, don't cry. But here's the thing, don't settle for, oh, I'll just show up at the next one. Because, gang, I promise you, 90 days from now, you're not even going to be around. A lot of you are not going to be around because you didn't hang in there long enough. If you came to national convention, probably will still be around by the next one we do at the end of April, beginning of May. But look, it's up to you. We're going to do everything we can to help you become successful, even if you don't show up. Okay. But let me just warn you about one thing, or warn you, or just give you a heads up that we're going to find out about the next event, like where it's going to be at the end of April, beginning of May, stage 2 success. And we're going to get the early bird ticket price. So what we're going to do this weekend is we're going to immediately send out the barcode or the QR code for you to sign up. And it's going to be super cheap for brand new people, like super cheap. Might even be $99 to get in, versus 150, $299, $499, the VIP tickets or whatever. So we're going to let you know about it this weekend. So if you don't come, just be ready to sign up for the next one. Just make that decision. Okay. Just make the decision. Remember, if you come in this thing with a long-term longevity, endurance focus, it's going to work for you. And it's going to be the most awesome career you could ever make for yourself, because what is involved here is freedom from fear, freedom from control, people controlling you, just freedom. So anyway, gang, appreciate y'all. God bless. Hope this made sense. And let's rock and roll, man. See ya.